Oop, yep. Well, I've been doing that. Been going to the 7-Eleven, getting my coffee a couple times this week, and got my mask on, go back to the car, of course, boom, right into my mask. And I guess that shows that we are getting a little comfortable with the masks. Also, it shows maybe I'm a little out of sorts as of recently. It's been quite the last couple weeks or a week or so. Because early last week I learned that Dr. Harold Remus passed away. Harold was one of my readers for my master's thesis, and he taught New Testament at the seminary and at the religion at Wilfrid Laurier University, which the seminary was attached to. And although he threw me a curveball in my thesis defense, and from the sparkle in his eye, he clearly enjoyed watching me squirm, we kept in touch through the years. We emailed back and forth. We met up at conventions, and he came to visit a few times with his wife Alice when I was living in Lethbridge and still married to Rebecca. He was a brilliant New Testament scholar, a committed social activist, a dedicated campus ministry advocate, and he was a mentor to generations of church leaders. And all of that grew out of his deep Christian faith. He was first and foremost a follower of Jesus. But one day, we're sitting over lunch, and he was sharing with me some of his doubts. And he joked, he said, "I just teach this stuff. Don't ask me what I actually believe." And then he laughed. But of course that wasn't true. In his moments of doubt, he would put on his shoes, he'd go out into the world, and he did his actions of faith. Because faith for him wasn't just a belief system. Faith was a way of life. Then on Thursday morning, right as I was about to start a Zoom meeting, my mom called to let me know that my Uncle Alec had passed away that morning at 7:15 his time. He was in an extended care facility in Hamilton, Ontario. Uncle Alec was 105 years old when he passed away, so it wasn't completely unexpected. And at 105, believe it or not, he's not the oldest member of that family still living. He has a sister, my Auntie Vern, living in Jasper, and she's like 106, 107 or something like that. So longevity runs in their veins. But even when a family member passes at such an advanced age, the loss is still deeply felt. That story has finished, has come to a completion. My cousins were sharing messages on our Facebook Messenger chat page, remembering Uncle Alec over the past few days. But also we were recognizing that this generation is passing away one by one. And today is when we stop and we remember everyone who has passed on the faith through the generations. We remember their names, we remember their stories. Because many names are fresh in our memory, like my Uncle Alec, like Dr. Remus. Other names are starting to fade. Many other names are known to God only. Who are you remembering today on this All Saints' Day? Who shaped you into the person that you have become? Who has influenced you in how you move through the world? Who has guided you to where you are now in life? What saint, now included among the heavenly host, do you remember today? When we think of what a saint is, I think the winds have shifted for a lot of Christians. Because in the years past, we celebrated the saints because they accomplished great feats of faith that seemed impossible to us everyday Christians. But now, we admire people for their humility, their humanity. We connect to people's common brokenness, not to wallow in shared misery, but to know that we are not alone, that our pain and our shame is nothing to be embarrassed by, that our weaknesses aren't something we need to hide, that our doubts don't define us. It's those moments of imperfection that make us beautifully human and connect us to each other. We know that we don't become holy by escaping our humanity. We don't become saints by casting off our weaknesses and brokenness. But that which makes us human also makes us holy. I've told you that before because I believe that to my bones. Because what makes us holy is being created in the image of a God who is love. What makes us sacred is Jesus coming to share our human frailty and our experience of mortality, not so that we can transcend our humanity, but to enter more deeply into it and experience the abundance of life that comes from sharing deep human connections, which then become expressions of the divine and then makes us holy. And from those deep human connections, God calls us saints. And today, again, this All Saints Sunday, it's actually All Saints Day. This is a time to remember the saints of the past who have impacted our lives. Those who by their example, either by their positive influence, who helped us become better people, living with faithfulness, compassion, forgiveness, and courage. Or it could be those saints who just go about their lives without drawing attention to themselves. They're nothing to look at. They go about their business without anyone really noticing them, but they make their quiet impact. And then there are those saints who, although still loved by God and for whom Jesus died and rose again, were nevertheless cautionary tales, who modeled to us a life of regret, of unfulfilled potential, of lonely disconnection with others, those who always seemed to end up on the losing side of life, those whose lives seemed to have been wasted. But today we remember them. We remember all of them, because each one of the saints of the past plays a role in God's salvation story. Because no matter how people's earthly story ends, their final ending is in God's story, and that story ends in victory. So today, all you saints gathered here, no matter where you are in life, no matter if you're enjoying success and fulfillment, or if you're just starting out and finding your way, or if you're in the middle part of life wondering what chapter of life will look like, the next chapter of life will look like. Or if you feel like you're starting at the bottom of life's rung and you need strength to start climbing. Or if you're coming to the final page of your earthly story and you're asking the big questions of life and eternity. You are an example of God working through you as your human story interweaves with God's story. So what are you handing off to the next generation? How are you influencing those coming up behind and who will soon be where you are as you transition to another stage of life or beyond? What story will your life tell? While that story may be unique to you, it will also be God's story told through you. Then one day, all our stories will be told as songs of praise, as everyone, saints of every time and every age and every place, will gather around the throne singing, "Salvation belongs to our God who is seated on the throne and to the Lamb." And may this be so among us.